Chris Berman, ESPN NFL Primetime co-host, and 2010 Pete Rozelle Radio TV Award from the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Championship Sunday coming up this weekend. Chris and Keyshawn Johnson will air on ESPN at 10 Eastern. That'll be following the Bills and Chiefs, also NFL Primetime divisional playoff shows available now through Saturday night on ESPN. ESPN Plus as we welcome in the Hall of Famer, Chris Berman. Chris, how are you, buddy?
Dan, good to be with you, man. You're still somebody. I was somebody. It's a pleasure to break some bread with you on championship week.
What's the oddest place you've been recognized because of your voice?
Oh, because of voice only. Well, I mean, I go to a lot this year, right, when you have masks on, right, and you're in the supermarket, let's say. That's not the oddest, but this is the most recent all the time. And, you know, you're alone. You're not saying anything. But then when you speak up, like two people in a line at the checkout go, wait a minute, is that you? I said, geez, I had a mask on. Like, that didn't, not that I'm running away from anything. Voice, this is going way back now because it's kind of the answer you want. If I forgot in all the years you and I, we were traveling and flying and going to airports and connecting, blah, blah, blah. If I forgot if it was summer or fall, if I'd go to, let's say, O'Hare, right? Yeah. And I'd hear in July, kind of under everyone's breath, back, and I look around and I didn't see anybody. Oh, it must be summer, baseball. And then, in the fall, you'd hear anything from Rumble or the Raiders, or you could go up. And then I look around and where are they? Nobody's looking at me. Oh, yes, that's right. It's football season. So
they just yell it out. They see you walking, and
yeah.
No need to bother you. They acknowledge you by just throwing out something.
No, I smile. Why not? My goodness, if we're on, like you and I, as long as we've been on, and no one knows what we've done or what we do, then we've kind of failed, right? I guess.
How did you become a Bills fan?
I'll try not to make this too long. The first part of the equation is the AFL. Okay, Dan, so I grew up at Shea Stadium with the Jets. Dad, season tickets, two young boys, 9 and 7, 64. They moved to Shea Stadium, the World's Fair. We got tickets, name it 65, etc. The Bills, as a 9 and 10-year-old, were the first champ of my league. So, as you're a young kid, you know who's, like, good and who's not, right? So there was a soft spot from then. They were the first champs that I remember. And oddly enough, they could have played in the first Super Bowl if they had won 3 in a row, but the Chiefs beat them. I mean, it's just it has nothing to do with Sunday, but it's a little footnote. And then fast forward, which you and I probably talked about in the days, and I used to go to a lot of training camps, 10, 12 of them, one day here, one day there. It's not like baseball. I mean, you're traveling, blah, blah. It was the last of 12 teams that I saw at 88, and I'm not Bill Poley, and I'm not anyone. I can't stand on the sideline and tell you in a day what you have. But this team looked like the best that I saw, and they were 7 and 8 the year before. And here's Jim Kelly throwing, and rookie Thurman Thomas, and Bruce Smith was the number 1 pick, and Cornelius Bennett they traded for, and Andre Reed, et cetera, et cetera. I picked them for the Super Bowl, Dan. I just, I am the Swami. I throw things. I throw things out there. Some of them stick, right? And now they did get to the championship game off of 7. Everyone said, "What are you, nuts?" They started 4-0, et cetera. Well, I went up to cover them. And I know this is an answer longer than you want, but I went up to cover them before their first playoff game, which was against Houston in Glanville. Not the Frank Reich game, but another one. And Glanville wasn't coaching them in that game. But I get ready to leave to go back to the airport, and I get to the airport at 7:30 for the flight to Hartford. And there's a couple TV cameras. There's Bill Polian. There's the mayor or the first city councilman. I forget exactly. And they hastily, stop me and present me the key to the city. Now, all I did was predict their football team. Yeah. But the folks in Buffalo, as you know, their national punchline, oh, is it snowing? And the fact that I just supported their football team, they wanted me to know that I was one of them. And so you can't turn down that kind of love. In my 41 years at ESPN, I mean, that's as far as, a fan base from afar. I mean, that's something. It's rewarded me to this day. And, of course, with that team, I mean, I keep in touch with all of them.
But did you catch any grief from management at ESPN that you were, I guess, openly rooting for a team? I mean, you had fun with it, but nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. You also, love the Niners as well. I didn't know if management said, let's try to be unbiased here.
Well, I don't think I was biased. I'm allowed to pick whoever I want, right? And then if I start to be 2-20, you better analyze it. Well, I'm going with the Bills. Well, they lost by 30 again, you idiot. So, no, because I didn't feel I was walking a line, Dan. First of all, in those years, all of us had teams. As long as and I rarely got accused. And I think this is true. I know it's true. As long as it doesn't shade what you see or what you say, they play the game. Whoa, they were the refs. They screwed. Stop. And I don't think it ever did. I tried very hard to make sure that it never did to this day. And it also was helpful. San Francisco was kind of a non-thought. The Niners, until they won with Montana, they were not a national team at all. As it turns out, I wasn't piling on the Dallas Cowboys or the Pittsburgh Steelers or the New York teams. The teams I kind of adopted, as it turned out, were kind of the corners of the country where they didn't have national voices. Like Buffalo, I know it's not the corner, but just bear with me. Early on, Dan, Tampa, you remember, right? Certainly San Diego. And Seattle. Well, those weren't. So these were teams that there wasn't an abundance of national, quote, voices for them. But as long as it doesn't affect your ability to be honest, I don't think anybody who's a sports fan can hold against you like some teams more than others. That nothing's changed in all my years there.
What would your approach be if you were just starting out now with ESPN as opposed to when you were there in the embryonic stages?
Good question. Well, I would hope I had the hair that I had then. I think I saved some in a pillow somewhere, but I can't put my hand on it right at the moment, Dan. But not unbelievably different, because I think deep down our job is to get it right, to convey the information. I think that, my excitement is real. I mean, you know me personally, I'm kind of the same way. That doesn't mean that I shout down every aisle of the supermarket, but I think enthusiasm, when it's genuine, is appreciated whatever job you do, whether it's digging ditches or whether we're on TV doing sports, which is a little easier to be enthusiastic about. And I think as long as you are yourself, I think those three things, I mean, I would tell any young sportscaster, radio, TV, or hopeful to do those things. Don't be enthusiastic if you're more of a Bob Lee type. It's not to say that Bob didn't enjoy it, but he's different than me or you. And I have the utmost respect for Bob, obviously, to this day. So I don't think in that at the very base of starting out, Dan, that there would be that much difference. Those catchphrase, the things that are nicknames, etc. I never did those to be, hey, I can be famous, because that doesn't work in the long run. So those three things, I still would be the same in that way. Now, obviously, medium and everything has changed some, but we would adapt to whatever technologies are now versus then, or et cetera. I think you probably, if someone asked you that, you'd be pretty similar answer. I would think so.
Well, they didn't want us to be ourselves. And you probably ran into this as well, that certain management members didn't want you to do those nicknames or be yourself. Keith and I faced that same kind of barrier there. There was a glass ceiling that we didn't realize. And then when we did, it was probably too late. Nowadays, they're begging for talent to be, hey, go in there and have fun, be big, don't be afraid. Whereas we tiptoed late at night. And I'm sure you probably had your moments where you had somebody who said, hey, can you cut out the nicknames here?
Well, I did, and we don't need to go into that story. They did at the end of a baseball season in '85, and they were back in '86, and he was gone. So they fought the law, and the law won. But that's, I think but I don't want. There's no. I mean, that's a long.
Nah, we're good with that. We've moved on from that. And,
but
I still tell people about the Charlotte Observer when I first got there, and I was. For some reason, I had to observe the making of SportsCenter for, I think, at least 2 months. And you just saw me come in. I'd sit down. I wouldn't say anything. I would just watch you guys write SportsCenter. And then every day I walked in and you went, hey, the Charlotte Observer. And I just said, my wife would say, how does it go? And I said, Chris Berman calls me the Charlotte Observer. And I said, I don't know if he likes me or not, but he calls me the Charlotte Observer. And she goes, okay. And then I explained it to her. But, yeah, and then my first show was when Chris stayed after doing the 11 o'clock, and he stayed for my first one. So forever indebted as he went on and helped the Charlotte Observer.
So I'm to blame, huh?
Yes.
With all this.
Whatever happened. Yeah, you helped me.
Hey, listen, but just quickly to get a chuckle out of you, the beauty was my style was not to mean that anybody at any moment couldn't say, cut it, pipe it down or cut it out or tone it or change it. The beauty of figuring this out in the 80s is I don't know who was watching in the very early stages. Now, I was a little, not wilder. We didn't crack eggs on our heads. We were all into sports, but 4 years, Dan, I did the 2:30. Now, that's 11:30 out west and, earlier in Hawaii, but tape was expensive. Maybe the bosses will never see it. And so a lot of how I was established was a decade ahead of you, at least at our place. I mean, you were at CNN, et cetera. But it's not to say, well, he's already this. We can't change his batting style, the way he throws the ball. Sure you can, because if we can't improve, we're going backwards. But some people were using us as a nightlight early on, and that's when I kind of established on the air, kind of lurching forward and backwards, who I would eventually become. I had that advantage. There was nobody observing us.
All right, in 60 seconds, which is impossible for you.
Yeah, correct.
Tell me what's going to happen in both title games this weekend.
Well, we'll start with the Chiefs because as we speak, we don't know if Mahomes is playing. And for us to guess, I mean, I think he will, but that's not the Chiefs hiding information, right?
Yeah.
I think if he plays and he, is pretty, I think we have, we didn't get the games last weekend we thought we would as far as, points, et cetera. I think that's a 28-24 somebody, fun. And the other one, wow, can you pick against Tom? But he and Gronk have played in the cold, but I don't know about a lot of others. Aaron Rodgers is on such a level that Tom will have to be his very best, which he's certainly capable of doing. That's another 28-24-ish. Notice I'm hedging here.
You are.
Well, which is unswami-like. I would lean to the Packers, and on the first one, I'm so close with both teams, Andy Reid and me.
Yeah.
A big part of me would like the Bills to get to the Super Bowl, and then, my God, are they going to be staring at Tom Brady 20 years like, oh no, not him? Or will the Chiefs have that rare opportunity, Dan, to be a repeat champ? And that doesn't come around a lot. And they're at home. I'd give the edge to the two home teams as we speak at this moment.
It's great to talk to you, as always. Hope you're doing well and having fun.
I am. The prime time on real TV, ESPN, the original, before they changed the cans. And good to talk to you, pal.
Thank you, bud.
Best home, okay?
Thank you, Chris. That's Chris Berman, the ESPN NFL primetime co-host and member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.